Everyone's talking about blocks, BLOX, but what if you actually tested it with real numbers? I ran 3 different strategies using $50,000, and the results might completely change how you look at dividend ETFs, so stay tuned. Welcome back to Simply Money. In this video, I'm running a full backtest on blocks using my Simply Money income forecast sheet and backtesting results. We'll test 3 different approaches: reinvesting distributions, cash flow withdrawals, and a hybrid compounding strategy to see which one actually builds the most wealth and income over time. Stick around to the end because the top performing strategies surprised me, and it might help you rethink how you're investing in covered call ETFs like blocks. Let's dive right into the worksheet that we have. With blocks, we're going to start out with July 1st, 2025. This is a very new fund, so we have limited data to use. This buy-in price that we went with was $20.81. That bought us 2,403 shares. And that's our $50,000 that we use on these backtesting scenarios. I've had some people say not everybody has $50,000. I understand we could do this with $1,000 and would get the same results, just smaller numbers. I like using $50,000 because there are some people who are looking at going from a growth portfolio into this income portfolio. So they're looking to see what it can generate with larger numbers, or for those who want to see what it'll be like down the road when they get their portfolio larger. Again, we could go with all sorts of numbers. Doesn't really matter. As you can see, we could use $1,000, and these results down here, the percentages don't change. It just changes the size of the values we're looking at. I like using $50,000. That's what I had used on my original backtest that I did a couple years ago with SCHD. And so I've just stuck with that. So we're kind of looking at the same financial situation in different funds, what it would look like. We can plug in your numbers. If you have a number you want to see, throw me a comment and we'll go ahead and plug in the numbers you want to see, and we'll do another scenario. Or if there's a fund you want to see, go ahead and send that in a comment as well. I'm compiling all the different requests, and those that are most popular, I begin doing scenarios for you, and I will get to those as quickly as possible. The first distribution was July 3rd, and this is a weekly payer. This is going to pay weekly for you. The price at that time for the first distribution was $21.69. The dividend payment was 14.4 cents, which paid out $345. This is with a full drip. So what we're doing here in this column D is fully dripping this into our blocks. We're fully dripping this back into the same fund. We're just buying more and more. For those who are in an accumulation phase, you're going to want to look at column D. This is 100% drip. We're fully dripping. Everything we get goes right back in. And with the full drip, we're now getting up to 2,419 shares. We gained 16 shares, and that brings our value up to $52,000. Let's go ahead and go down the stock price to begin with, the ETF, the price. As we go down this row here, you can see that it's pretty steady climb. There's been a couple dips in August that dropped back down to $21. Again, in September, it dropped again down to $21. Then it got up to $25, almost $26 here. It's been up and down, which is normal in any stock, any ETF, but it's had a nice incline. Unlike some of the other weekly payers where you see this declining on a more consistent basis, this is focused on asset appreciation and then income second, but it's still looking at paying a 30 to 40% distribution yield. A 35%, I think, is their target. You can expect to see a 30 to 40% yield on these, but that's secondary to the growth of this fund. As you can see, just from July 1st till October 10th, the share price has gone up 24.46%. Now, the dividends have been very consistent as well. You can see they started out 14 cents, got up to 16. They dropped down a little bit. The lowest here was 13.7. Then they're back up. And then our most recent was actually the highest. There may be a new one since I've recorded this, but as of the recording, the latest one is 18.4 cents. These distributions have been consistent, and from the first distribution to the latest, we've seen a 27.78% increase. Doesn't mean it's going to continue to increase at that pace. It may go down from this 18 like it did here from 16. It went down to 14, 13, and then back up. We might see this drop back down, then back up. It's going to follow, but their goal is to pay about a 35% yield on whatever the share price is. You're looking at gaining asset value and getting a nice distribution. Now, as we're looking at distributions, and these, I call them dividends, I apologize, it's just old hat here, but the distributions have steadily increased from $345. Our lowest one, I think, after that was this $347 right here. You got up almost to $400. It went down a little bit, and then now we're up to $400, and now this latest one's getting us pushing close to $500 at $486. But all of these have been buying new shares. So you can see your new shares, you've gained 257 more shares by reinvesting this distribution each and every week. And you've received almost $6,000 in distributions that you've reinvested and bought that 257 shares. Go to column I here, the value of the full drip. Fully dripping, this is what your portfolio value would be. Again, you can see it's never dropped below its original $50,000. Again, this is very short term that we're looking at here, but it has not dropped below its original value. In fact, our highest is currently, as of this recording, at $68,897. That's not too bad in 3 months that you've gained almost $19,000 in value. If you were to say, okay, I'm done, I'm selling this, in 3 months, your $50,000 has grown and earned you almost $19,000 that you could sell. Now, you'd have capital gains and all that good tax implications, but just looking at it, or if you're in a tax advantaged account, you can sell it and buy something else. But if you're holding and accumulating, you can see what's happening. You could turn your drip off and your distributions would be almost $500 a week off of this $50,000 just in 3 months. I've done another video on forecasting using these figures of what it's done if it continued doing that, and then we did some other scenarios of it not performing as well or performing better, and you can see what it can do over the next 5-10 years. You can check that video out on our channel. Feel free to check that out and see what the future could look like. This is back testing. This is real data. This is what's actually happened. The forecast or speculation, what we think could happen based on past performance, but past performance is not indicative of future results. That is our full drip scenario. Now, our 50% distribution. What we do with this scenario is you get the distribution and half of it you use for income. This amount in column E is actually half of the distribution. You're going to keep this amount, $172.99, to do what you want. That can be used for bills, that can be used to reinvest into something else, another fund, but it's not going back into blocks. Now, 50% of it, $172.99, is going back in. Your 50% drip, 50% do something else with the cash. With 50% drip, you can see that your payments at the end here is still really high. If you double, that's about $5,700, so it's not much lower. The reason it's lower, though, is because you're not dripping as much, so you're not buying as many shares. You can see after this time frame, you've accumulated 126 extra shares by dripping 50%, and your portfolio balance is up $15,484. But remember, you also have received $2,872 in distributions that you have elsewhere, whether it's been spent, savings, or invested in something else. So you have to calculate both your portfolio value and the amount of distributions that you have used, because that is your total return. That has been really nice as well. This is a good scenario to see with blocks. Maybe I'm not ready to take the full distribution, but I want a little bit of that distribution each week. You're looking at $170 to $230 a week that you're getting of distribution that you can use toward bills or investing somewhere else. Meanwhile, your portfolio balance is still growing, which is a really nice bonus to this, generating income and growing your portfolio balance. Now, the third scenario is zero drip. This means we're taking the distribution. We're not buying any new shares. That distribution is now being spent on bills. It's being spent on reinvesting into something else, but you're not buying any more blocks. You're keeping blocks at this original 2,403 shares. Your distribution is now yours to use, and you'll see this is not growing as fast as the full drip because as you get down further, you have more shares with the full drip. When you get this distribution of 18 cents, instead of getting on the full drip, you're getting that 18 cents times 2,660 shares, which gives you the $486. With the zero drip, you're still at 2,403 shares times 18 cents. That gives you $442. That's not a big difference, only $44 here, but that's only 3 months. If you extend this out for 5 years, that gap gets much bigger. And so a lot of people like to take the full drip, use that and accumulate shares, and then drop off to 50% or 40%. I have a spreadsheet. You can get all of our spreadsheets down below in the description on the Buy Me a Coffee link. And I have one that shows you all your different distribution amounts. You can put it at 100%, 5%, whatever you want. And you can actually, there's 2 columns where you can put 100% for 3 years and then drop it down to 50%. You can play with those different scenarios and see what it can do in your future income forecast. That's what that one's called, income forecast spreadsheet, and that's for future speculation and figuring out what it could grow to. But this one is using the back data, and so you can see you're getting, in 3 months, you've collected $5,600 of distributions from this one fund. That's 10%, over 10% return that you've gotten in cash. And look at this. Not only have you received $5,600 over 3 months and you've used that, however, your value's gone up $12,229. That is really strong to see your portfolio balance climbing, and you're taking the full distribution and investing it elsewhere or spending it. What's that turn out to? The full drip, you have an $18,000 right here, $18,897 increase. That's your total return of 37.79%. in those 3 months. I'd say that's pretty healthy. Now, 50% drip, you have your $15,000 here, plus you've received, remember you received half of the distribution in cash and did whatever you wanted to with that. So you add these two figures together, that gives you your total return of $18,356 for a 36.71% total return. And this is what you have to look at, is your total return, because it's not just about what your value is in your portfolio, it's how much cash you've received from it. And that's really important in funds that you have a NAV decline, a NAV erosion, because you might see this negative number here, but your total return might be positive 30, 40% because you've received so much yield and you have to add that back in. Now on the no drip, we're going to take this $12,229 and add in the $5,600 that we received in distributions. Our no drip has given us a $17,835 total return, but we've spent $5,600 of it, but that's still our return for 35.67% total return. So there you have it. That's blocks. That's its back testing with 3 different scenarios of 100%, 50%, or zero drip, how it's performed. And this is what we're based on our other video on forecasting the future. We've used these data points to put that in and say, what will it continue to do if it did these same results long term for 3 years, 5 years? And you can check that video out again on our channel. What do you think? Are you a fan of blocks? Do you own blocks? Do you have other funds that you'd like to compare to this? Feel free to throw me a comment down below on your thoughts on these back tests. I appreciate you joining me, and I hope you enjoyed this. Don't forget to smash that like button and subscribe to the channel to be notified of our future videos, and we'll see you next time on Simply Money.